Hey everybody, it's RooSims here and welcome back to my channel. I have been working on creating my own save file and I wanted to share some of it with you guys and also give some tips for you guys to create your own save file if you want to. It's probably going to be a personal save file because I'm using a lot of CC. I got the idea to do this because, well, one, I have been wanting to create a save file for a while, but in one of my gameplay tips videos, somebody had the really good suggestion to spice up your game by creating like a save file that you can always just start a new story in if you want to, so you're not always starting with the same sims and lots and all of that stuff. And because of that, I kind of decided to go all out in terms of the builds, in terms of the lore. I wanted to like really make this a save file that I will enjoy playing in whenever I place it down. With that, let me show you guys how I am planning my save file. So I have this as blank here just to show you guys like the template, but basically what I did was I created a planner for my save file with obviously the save file name at the top, and then for each world I will put in each lot in the world, a description of the lot, and a floor plan. Then I will go into what sims I'm going to create to live in that house. And then over here on the second tab, I have a whole separate area to kind of plan out the storylines for every single family. I can even go deeper into character if I want to. But yeah, it's a very simple planner just to kind of keep my thoughts organized. And another reason I'm doing this, I mentioned this in one of my other tips videos. For me, a build and the sims that live in it, both the appearance of those sims and the lore of those sims, that's all going to be intertwined to me. So to have this planner of mapping out the world that I'm in, and then the build in that world, and then the corresponding sim and that storyline, that's really important to me just to keep things realistic. And the reason I start with builds is because frankly, I think the thing I'm least creative with in The Sims is starting out my builds. I most of the time do use a floor plan just to like map out the layout of my houses. Then with the interior design, I do that myself. And frankly, I think it's a really good way to get into building if you're new to building. Using floor plans can really help jumpstart that. But because that is the least creative part of my personal process, that's why I wanted to start with builds. But like say I already have a sim idea in mind, I can always like map it in a different way. I can like start with the story and work backwards as well. So what I really like to do is just look up floor plans. If you know what world you're in, like for example, if I'm on Henford-on-Bagley, I would probably look up like cottage floor plans. This country house here looks like it would fit so well in Henford-on-Bagley. I probably wouldn't add this garage. Like maybe I would keep this little offshoot, but this is a really nice little cottage home that I could definitely start with. So in my planner, I'm gonna come over here and put Henford-on-Bagley, and then I'll put in like the floor plan link I found, obviously the lot in the description as well. But then what's really important to me is to make the sim who's living in that house make sense. Again, I'm really hyper focused on realism in my save file. So like say I'm building a small cottage that's 1 bedroom and like 1.5 bathrooms. It would not make sense for me to have like a multiple sim family living there. Like at most 2 sims could live there, and even that is pushing it a little bit. But in a house like that, I might put in a sim that like used to live in the big city but needed to escape and wanted to downsize and wanted to like withdraw from the world because they got fed up of the corporate rat race or something like that. You see how like the build is intertwining into the sim that I'm coming up with, and that's also going to affect their appearance as well. Like the sim that I'm thinking of that used to be super rich, like living in a penthouse in San Myshuno, top of their career, but then like had some sort of life change and decided to leave it all behind and escape to the countryside. Maybe they don't have any friends because they aren't a very likable person. Maybe they haven't been super down to earth their whole life, so their only clothes are super fancy or like not really suited for the country. So maybe they like wear heels and really nice dress shoes, even though that doesn't really make sense for where they're living now, but it's like a product of their character. So that is completely off the top of my head. Obviously there's a lot more lore building that could go into that, but that's just an example of how the aspects of the game, like building and cast, are kind of coming together in my save file. To give you guys a better example here, this is Ethan. He is a character in my Finding Hope Let's Play. He is a gang leader and he lives in this apartment in San Myshuno. And this apartment is going to be part of my save file. I'm going to keep Ethan in the save file too because I just really love how he turned out, both looks wise and the character and storyline I have planned for him. I'm really happy with. But because he's in a gang, I gave him like very noticeable scars, but I also kept him very polished because he grew up in a house with like a very strict father. Put a huge emphasis on it for Ethan and his sister Hope growing up. Even with his scars and stuff, that like expectation has kind of stayed ingrained in him. That's why he has such a nice haircut. That's why he's clean shaven all the time. And even his clothes, I kept them like minimally messy. Like they're casual. I don't know, he still looks put together, you know? So that's just an example here of the planning I'm doing and some tips for you guys if you want to start planning a save file for yourself. I also wanted to talk about where I'm getting my inspiration both for the builds and for the stories. I'm doing a lot of research. As you guys probably know, the world in The Sims are inspired by real life locations. So I want to make sure like the builds I'm choosing for each of these worlds are going to correspond to the actual locations would really look like. Again, realism is really, really important to me. So I'm doing a lot of research on that. Obviously, this build is probably less applicable for that because, you know, it's literally just San Myshuno apartment. And I kind of just like did my thing with it because I wanted it to look like a gang headquarters. But for other worlds, for example, like I was showing you guys with Henford on Bagley, I would probably choose like cottagey vibe for all my builds, or like maybe a farmhouse or something. Similarly in Chestnut Ridge, I'm trying to go more with like farmhouses and stuff like that. I haven't started my builds in Moonwood Mill yet, but honestly I might go a little bit similar to this, kind of like a rundown vibe, but not for everything. I have an idea for a werewolf family in Moonwood Mill that are like super rich, so I want to build like a werewolf mansion, but I'm still thinking about ideas for that. I haven't finalized my ideas for that yet. I can show y'all, this is actually an unfinished build over here. I still need to do a lot of the landscaping, but as you can see, I stuck with the kind of the traditional family home vibe over here. This over here is a very modern mansion that I think fits the vibe of the lot as well. Over here, as you can see, I tried to match the vibe of the surrounding areas, and this isn't the sim that's gonna be living here either. I was actually just playtesting this lot, but this is gonna be like a streamer house, like a content house. I'm very excited for it. If y'all have seen Finding Hope episode 1, or even just like were watching my streams when I was building this over on Twitch, you've seen this townhouse before, and like I said, I tried very hard to match the vibe of the surrounding area. Like there's only so much I can do with roofing. I wanted to do something similar to these houses back here, so it's not perfect. I'm doing research on the world, and along with that, taking inspiration from the existing builds in the world to make sure that like whatever I'm building isn't gonna stick out like a sore thumb, because I do think that's important. Oh, a good example of this, and this kind of leads me into my second tip, or I guess just like where I'm getting inspo from, is I am going to be putting vampires in Willow Creek, because Willow Creek is based on New Orleans, and in like the Vampire Diaries universe, there is like the whole thing about the originals, and I never finished the originals, so I don't know exactly like the lore, but I do know there are vampires in New Orleans. And also I think that's just like a real life legend. Again, I'm not 100% on that, but I know for a fact that is a thing in the Vampire Diaries universe, and that leads me into my second way of getting inspo, which is using TV shows. Even like a little thing like that of, oh, there's gonna be vampires in this world that's based on New Orleans. I think that's a really cool tidbit of lore to put in my game. In addition to that, I kind of like the idea of putting some Easter eggs in my save file. Nothing like too overt, but for example, in like Evergreen Harbor, I was thinking of putting like Jess from New Girl, not her when she lived in LA with Schmidt, Nick, and Winston, but when she was younger and like with her parents, because I think Evergreen Harbor is based on like the Northwest of the United States, so places like Portland and stuff like that, and she's from Portland, so I thought that would be like a fun little Easter egg. And then that also kind of, that's like inbuilt lore, you know what I mean? Like I can base those characters off of what I already know about them from the TV show, but I might also get creative and add some more. Another little piece I did want to put in is Community. Community is my favorite TV show, literally of all time. I absolutely love that show. And it doesn't like super work because the setting of Community, Greendale, I think it's in Colorado. And as far as I know, there is no Sims world based off of Colorado yet, or like Denver. But since it's based on a community college, I figured I could like make some of the characters, maybe not all, but maybe like Troy and Abed, and put them into Brightchester, maybe the dorms or something. Again, these are still just ideas. I haven't implemented them yet, so I'm still brainstorming a little bit, but I do think it's gonna make the save file really fun for me to play. Lastly, I do want to recommend, again, as like a tip slash what I'm using for my save file, I'm using Pinterest for builds. I'll actually show you guys like an example right here. I have saved this pin because I want to try and recreate it. Honestly, like once I do this little bit, I feel like I can build a whole apartment or house around it. I'm pretty sure we got a very similar bookcase to this with the jewel making pack, the crystal creations pack. So interior design inspo, I guess, but like build inspo in general, because like this might just spark your creativity in something that you want to build, and then for your save file you can kind of extrapolate a sim and like the story from there. This is another pin I have saved. I think this is absolutely gorgeous because it like the second floor is open here. There's just so much light. I absolutely love it. And the ceiling fan, the long ceiling fan. And of course I have exteriors saved on Pinterest too. Pinterest just has everything. Like if you just need like a little spark of creativity, if you just need a little bit of inspo, Pinterest is my go-to. Like I said, y'all, I'm literally currently working on the save file. Like I have basically just started to build it out. Oh my god, not the camera jump. If you guys have any ideas for me, please drop them in the comments below. I'd love to know like if you guys have made a personal save file, or if you just like have something you want to see me build and put in my save file. I'd love to do that as well. Or if you have any tips that you want to share, feel free to comment anything down below. Also, do let me know if you want me to share my save file planning template. Again, honestly, it's pretty simple, but if you want me to share it so y'all can use it too, I definitely can do that. Or if down the line you would want me to share my save file, even, you know, like I said, it definitely is gonna have CC in it, but if you guys want me to share it, I can definitely plan on doing that down the line too once it's done. Since we are at the very start of me creating it, you guys are gonna be coming along for the entire journey, and as I create it, I will be sharing tips and tricks along the way, just like I did in this video. So I really hope you guys find this series helpful. I'm really excited to see how it turns out at the end. With that, guys, I am going to leave this video here. Definitely like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to comment your thoughts or opinions down below. Do also consider joining the channel as a member for access to special perks. And with that, I will see Roo later. Bye, guys.
Calling to see if you're free to run away with me.